Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. A man of the lens back again with another video. So this is actually the second time I'm shooting this video, and so the main reason why I want to shoot this video is just um, to piss off some people. To be honest, I'm definitely going to piss off some people, and especially if you're a camera fanatic. I always believe that camera is just a tool to be used, right? But a lot of people become so attached to their cameras to the point where they can't see past other brands. And I mean, it's good to be brand loyal. I think I'm a little bit of a Fuji fanatic myself, but I've decided to try other brand. If I have the possibility to try any other brand, I will. If I become an ambassador for another brand, obviously, I will take the financial benefit that comes with that. And I'm not saying that I'm selling my loyalty to anybody, but at the moment, I feel like Fuji is the brand that does a lot of things for what I do. Fuji is the brand that meets a lot of my requirements, and I know that there are probably superb brands out there. I'm moving from Canon for a very simple reason. It doesn't meet the needs of my business at the moment, and it doesn't meet my personal need at the moment, and it doesn't meet, most importantly, my creative need. So what I want to do today, as much as I'm still shooting with a Canon right now, I should still mention that as well. I'm using the 800D, which is like my vlogging camera for YouTube. It's a camera that I think it's very easy for me to set up and just start shooting right away. And I still use that camera, and I'm planning to change it to the XS20. And that I think is something that I should mention. And I also should mention that I get camera now and then from Fuji South Africa to try. I've gotten the Fuji XS10, I've got the XE4, I've got the XH1, and I've also gotten the XS20. I haven't actually exported XT5 yet, but I think I'll probably get one as well to test out and just to see how that camera feels like. Right now, my camera of choice is my XT2. That's the camera that I use personally for all of my stuff. It has a Canon lens cap. Strangely, I actually ordered some Fuji one, so this is the camera that I use for all of my Fuji. For all of my photography needs at the moment. I still use the Canon here because I have a lot of the lenses for Canon, but when I want to adapt it to my Fuji, I use this adapter here. It works okay. It's not the best, to be honest, and the XC2 doesn't have the best autofocus, but it allows me to adapt all of my Canon lens to my Fuji. So today what I did is very simple. I just did a little bit of a test just to see how flexible are the Fuji files compared to the Canon one. Canon is some of the best color straight out of camera, and that I'm going to give it to Canon. I'm not even going to discuss that. That is something that I've been shooting Canon for over 7 years now. I know how those files feels like. I've shot Nikon. I haven't shot much Sony. The only Sony camera that I have is a point and shoot that attached to your camera. So this is literally the only weird Sony camera that I have. It's a G Master lens, but yeah, that's pretty much all about it. So this is the only Sony that I have. It's one of those cyber shot that's supposed to be like just better for your camera, and that's better than your phone camera, but I haven't used it much. Might actually do a review about this. It's actually a fun camera, but it takes a lot of time to set it up. So I've shot Nikon. That's what I started. Nikon. That is what I started my career with, and then after that I moved to Canon, because Canon is, as I said, readily available here in South Africa, and it's just very affordable to get into that. Fuji is so not well known, but it's now getting a bit of ground because it's not so well known, and you can get it for actually very cheap as well. But the glasses is the only problem with the Fuji right now. It took me over 9 months to get my first glass for my Fuji camera. Okay, as granted, I had the kit lens that came with my camera. But that's not really the point of this video. The point is to check the Canon file compared to the Fuji files. And one thing that I've noticed right away is Fuji file, they are completely uncompressed. So they are uncompressed and they are pretty big. So you have to know that if you're shooting with Fuji, depending on the file that you have or anything like that, you are close to 50 megapixel of in any sort. To be honest, I've checked all of my Fuji files are literally close to the 50 megapixel. If I just go to another one, yeah, they're always close to the 50 megapixel. Does it makes quite a difference compared to the Canon one? Yeah, you could say that, because this Canon file is 30 megapixel. It's about 17 megapixel difference, 17 megabytes difference, not 17 megapixel. They're all 24 megapixel, by the way. So these sensors are literally the same. So I just don't know how they compress it in camera or out of camera. So it's about 17 megapixel in difference, 70 to 20 megapixel depending on what you shoot, because it will depend on the information that you're capturing, the sensor is capturing. So that can definitely play a huge role in the file size. So what I did is I compared the files straight out of camera just to compare colors. Granted, I shot with a Fuji simulation on my RAW here, but I straight away transformed it into a color a color file just to check how it's going to look like, and especially compared to the Fuji one. So straight out of camera, I'm literally doing this just as I'm talking to you, because I don't really want to have to be justifying myself and saying that I am biased. So straight out of camera, these two files, they look pretty different. I think the Fuji has a little bit more light in it. I do not know if this may be caused by the adapter that I was using, but the Fuji one looks a little bit washed out. Could be an adapter reason, because I know that for a fact if I shoot with the Fuji native lens, my file looks always sharp. But yeah, that could be a disadvantage to the Fuji. Easily fixable in post. And speaking of fixable in post, I edited the photo just to see how they will look like. So this is the Fuji edited, and this is the Canon edited. I'll put them side by side so that we can compare them. There we go. And here we see a little bit more that the Fuji colors are a little different. Remember, I used the same profile. The blues are just a little bit bluer on the Fuji and a little less saturated with the Canon. That is one thing that will definitely come a little bit more as we are doing this. So the saturation, and because of that, I also wanted to compare how can the picture be, when we saturate the photo, how much can a picture hold up. So on here we have the Fuji one, and here we have the Canon one. So not so much difference. Do they hold up when they are being oversaturated, and which color looks a little bit more pleasing? That's also something that you could take into consideration. But I think at the end of the day, the judgment is really to be done by you. So one thing that I think I also did use some of the saturation, some of the pictures that offered on Photoshop. So these are the same pictures, picture profile that you can also find on Lightroom. So with the modern one, this is classic Chrome. So you can see for yourself, they are pretty similar, to be honest. They are really, really super similar. But one thing that Fuji probably has an advantage on is just the ability to use Fuji simulation and to make your picture or your photo feels a little bit personal. And that is one thing that really attracted me to that brand, because especially when I need something super casual, and the size as well. I mean, the Fuji mirrorless are very, very small compared to the Canon DSLR. Granted, it's older technology DSLR, but it still hold up pretty well. But I can't customize that Canon as much as I can customize the Fuji, and that is something that really, really grabbed me out. You have the dial. This is the Fuji look, and if people enjoy Fuji, this is one thing that they enjoy a lot, because it allows them to shoot the way they want. This camera, I literally can customize it the way that I want. And what I've done, especially just to make my shooting experience a little faster, is the function button here on top on the XE2. I've turned the function button into what does it do? So my function button here on top selects my focus. So it has my eye autofocus, or I can disable it, so my face autofocus or something like that. The autofocus lock button, I've changed it into my custom mode, because with this one you can't have custom dials as if you have it with the XH2S or the XH2. And so the dial here, I have my simulation, I have performance boost, I kept it those ones. These are like the basic one. I have my AF mode, my autofocus mode. I have my white balance with this one, AF mode here. This one still I haven't mapped it to anything because I don't need it. So customization, definitely point for Fuji. Canon doesn't do that so well. And that is something that I actually felt like was also limiting. True, the layout buttons on the 800D is probably some of the best, and the menu system on the Canon is probably one of the best. I'm not even going to take that away from Canon, but I just can't customize the camera to my liking without having to go to the menu sometimes, without having to press one or two buttons. I like the fact that there is a ISO button, there is a focus button, and all of those stuff, literally pretty much as I can change here. But having a dial just makes it a little faster on the XT2. Having dial just makes it a little faster. I've noticed that, especially because I also have the XT1. I've noticed that those minor changes just makes it a little better. And also I've customized this button here, my shutter button, to my liking by putting in like a threaded. So because it's threaded, so I've put like a small little button here, just to give it a little bit of an accent. I don't want my camera to look like everybody's camera. So the file size, going back to the file size or the file flexibility. Now that I've actually done this, I don't see much difference, but it's just that sometimes, especially when it comes to high dynamic range situation, I feel like the Fuji files, especially the uncompressed one, holds up just a little better than the Canon one. Not to say that you can't create remarkable work with Canon. I've done a lot of the job that is on my Instagram page is from the Canon, and sometimes when I go to a job, I'll take the Canon, mostly because a lot of the stuff that I use are Canon related. For example, my trigger, where is it? My Godox trigger is a Canon trigger. Probably I'm definitely gonna pick up a Fuji one as well. A lot of the glasses that I have are Canon glasses. Switching to another brand means that you have to reinvest into new glasses, and that is something that I am definitely also going to do, but it just takes time, it takes money to invest in all of that while you have also other needs as a person. So a camera is just a tool, and I think for the moment Fuji is just doing a little bit better for me right now. And as you've seen in this test, Fuji files, because of those sizes, they just give me a little bit more peace of mind. I feel like I can push the file a little more than the Canon files, and that is something that I also really consider, because I work in an environment where the files need to look a certain way, and what I have to do looks a certain way. I'm just going to touch on a little bit on the video side. So on the video side, what I've noticed, especially with the Fuji, as soon as I started using like a native lens, I didn't have as much insecurity when it comes to the video side of this camera. The autofocus is probably not the best, but with a native lens, you have better autofocus than if you're using an adapter and the third-party lens, because obviously they don't communicate properly, and that's supposed to be. I know as soon as I invest myself into like better glasses, I'm planning to get the kit lens, the f2 to f4, and I think that kit lens is just gonna be just enough for all of the video work that I'm doing. Especially if I'm doing a wedding, because wedding you shoot generally during the day, and probably won't have much of an issue over there. So yeah, so that's it pretty much for this comparison, and scientific comparison, to be honest. I didn't want to, this is mostly my opinion, and I'm not going to say that you should select one or two another brand. Just select the brand that works for you, and that is the most important. What you feel comfortable with is what you should be going with. At the end of the day, camera is just a tool. It's not because I'm talking about Fuji today so glowingly that in the next 6 months I won't be switching to another brand. So I haven't tried a lot of Nikon recently. So if possibly I could get myself one, I'll be more than glad to try it out. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.